What is good, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one will break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for tomorrow. I'm also going to talk about Tesla's stock, SPY, and the QQQ, and also some economic data that's going to be coming out and some important levels to watch for. Before I break anything down about all this information, though, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Remember, the offer ends very soon. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, when it comes to the market is holding up quite nicely, continuing to pump as time goes on. And I warned you, if we broke 448 on SPY, this thing's going to likely try to pump a lot more. And you can see it slowly hitting these high levels. My prediction was it could get very close to 450 very soon. We are pretty close to it. We're just like less than $1 away. That is still pretty close for SPY's standards, seeing how fast it could move. And this thing is continuing to pump quite nicely. But the question is, should you continue to hold these options or should you not? That is your own choice. But in doing so and making a decision to hold any options overnight or to like sell them, you need to know what the risk is. And my job is just to provide you guys with the knowledge and the information. You make your own financial decisions, however. And what should you be knowing? Well, check this out right over here. Tomorrow, we have something big happening for Friday. Just as a big reminder, we have big bank earnings coming out. We have JP Morgan Chase, we have Citi, we have Wells Fargo, we have BlackRock. So why is this so important? The banks will affect how the market moves tomorrow. Please be aware of that. If the banks do very well and they start pumping, well, that's good and all, but you also have to pay attention to what their guidance is. You have to look at what they're going to be projecting for the next couple of quarters, the next year or so. That's going to be very important. So guidance is going to be huge. Make sure you are paying attention to what the banks report. If the banks do well as well and they have strong guidance and they're still like leading to strong sentiment amongst investors, we could see the market pump even more. That's a possibility. But what if the opposite happens? What if the banks don't do as well? Who knows? I mean, it's a possibility, right? There's also a possibility that the market could get a gap down tomorrow. Because remember, this is all coming out before the market opens. So always be open-minded and be prepared for anything just to be safe. I just wanted to let you guys know what the risk is of holding options overnight. All right, but there's a chance it could work in your favor. So that's your own choice, your own risk. Please be well aware of this and be prepared for this for tomorrow, because the market's going to close within an hour and a half from now at the time I'm recording this. And that is your opportunity to just try to like do whatever you want to do. Now, just to remind you guys, Delta had earnings. We saw Pepsi and a couple of others. We had PepsiCo specifically, and also Pepsi included. And then we had all these big earnings that came out for today. And the guidance was actually relatively strong. We had some strong guidance for the next year for Delta, for Pepsi's outlook, and many others. So that was some good news. And for that reason, a lot of these stocks held up quite nicely. So that could be foreshadowing what could be happening with the banks. Maybe the banks are going to do better than expected and surprise a lot of investors. But who knows? Just to be safe, always be prepared and wait for the data. Always be patient nonetheless. Now, to add on to this, for tomorrow, we have some like other pieces of data dropping for tomorrow. The Michigan consumer reports are coming out. I will talk more about these later on. But until then, now let's talk about the charts. How are things looking? SPY's pumping, trying to get above this 449.25 resistance. If it breaks down, watch 449.5. And above that, it's going to get very close to 450. But for now, it's starting to reject just a little bit. It's still is trying quite hard. It's not looking too weak. If anything, it's looking strong still. And the market is continuing to rip to the upside off the good PPI report that came out. And that's despite the jobs numbers. Now, a lot of shorts are also closing their positions. That's how the market's holding up quite nicely. And we're seeing lots of short covering in this market. It's like a market-wide squeeze. So to add on to this, let me just mention that it's very important that we look at the different contingencies that do affect the markets. And it's very important to look at other earnings moving forward, because that's going to affect how SPY moves over the next couple of weeks. All right, so if SPY does drop down, you're going to be watching support around this 449 area, that zone between 449 and 448.7. There's quite a bit of resistance there, which is going to become support. If that fails, let's watch 448.5. And we have very strong support at the 50 EMA on the 5-minute time frame. That's holding SPY up quite nicely. So watch this very carefully. That's going to be our support. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I think it's holding up quite nicely. It's going to likely hold up. But just to be safe, do not forget about the risks for tomorrow. We have another runner for today. We have Tesla making a beautiful move to the upside. Now, Tesla's gaining strength already. It's starting already. We're starting to see a little bit more volume. But here's the thing, the real volume is not going to come until next week, in my opinion, or maybe as soon as tomorrow, depending on how early investors start pumping in, and also depending on the bank earnings. If Tesla does very, very well tomorrow, it's going to be because of the banks and also because of more FOMO buyers starting to come in before earnings. Earnings is approaching. You have to remember that. And when earnings approaches, we tend to see Tesla get more volatility, more pumping, more, beautiful price action as buyers start to step in. Tesla had a record amount of delivery, so there's a good chance there's going to be a lot of FOMO coming. So I believe starting as soon as like maybe Friday or maybe even like by Monday specifically, I would say at least by Monday at the latest, Tesla's going to start pumping. We're going to get the pump we've been talking about approaching earnings. So it's going to pump up approaching earnings on Wednesday, July 19th. And then after that, who knows what's going to happen to Tesla? That depends on their margins and all those other factors. But there's going to be some upside coming because Tesla's gaining some strength. We're testing this resistance around this like 276 area. It's not that significant. Historically, the more significant resistance is around the 277s, 277.5 to 277.68. That's like a lot stronger resistance. And so far, Tesla's gaining some strength and trying to uptrend. If it breaks down, watch 275 as support, 274.1, 273.39, then 272. I don't really think that's going to drop that hard, though. Could cool off a little bit. There is a divergence forming right here. Maybe it cools off just a tiny bit, but overall, it's still holding up. Now, looking at Tesla, let me just mention that I don't expect it to drop too hard. I don't expect it to pump insanely hard either. I think it's just going to stay kind of range bound for a while. But then we're going to see a big reaction to the bank earnings for tomorrow. And then it's going to start pumping probably by next week, a lot more. That's what my prediction would be. More upside to come. Could start as soon as tomorrow, but I'm not too sure about that as it depends on the bank earnings. But I just want to note that's very important for us to be optimistic. It's very important to watch our options very carefully. And it's very important for us to manage risks and know about what's about to come. As for Tesla, it's holding up nicely. Good chance it's going to try pumping very soon. I'm leaning more bullish for the next week, approaching Wednesday. I think it's most likely going to start pumping overall. So just get ready and watch it very, very carefully. All right. Last but not least, for the triple Q, it's getting above 378.5. If it keeps breaking above this resistance, it has some room to try to make its way up to 379, then potentially 380 after that. But the resistance levels get tighter and tighter the higher it goes because the resistance is tough at these high levels, especially around 380. If you get good earnings for tomorrow, we're going to see this thing try to break this resistance right about here. If we get some really, really good numbers, we could start to see this thing break above 380. If not, it could just, once again, get a rug pulled down. And you're going to be watching 377.5, 375 below that, and many other support zones which are going to be quite significant. What do I think is going to happen? Well, as of right now, it's looking more bullish. This trend is bullish. Very, very nice uptrend on the bigger time frames. Odds favor this thing making its way up closer to this like 379 area. So far, so good. Let's just be patient and see how this goes. Tesla's still trying to break out, getting some good volume. Tesla is improving. Hopefully it continues this way, and we will see what happens over the next couple of days. I'm anticipating more upside for Tesla, especially as we approach earnings. And with that said, please be ready. All right, so thank you for listening. If you want to hold options overnight, that is your choice. Just for like trading and swing trading, right? We're holding long-term Tesla shares nonetheless, but I'm talking about the short-term, options that you could be holding. Remember, the bank earnings is coming very, very soon. That could affect how we open up tomorrow. So just be careful. Be very, very careful. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.